Hey guys, it's Rick. This is sadly, our last week. I can't believe 6 weeks have flown by like it has. So today, what I'm going to teach you takes everything we've learned so far and combines it into one card. Okay? So what I'm going to teach you is I'm going to teach you how to do an underpainting first, and then we're going to stamp, and then we're going to paint our painting on top of that. So what an underpainting is remember when we did our washes, that fourth wash we did, that's basically an underpainting. So what you're going to do is we're going to tape our board down. I'm going to show you how to do that. I've already got two pieces. I tape all four sides. So I've got some painter's tape, and this is artist painter's tape for watercolorists. So I'm going to take and pull off enough that's going to cover my edges, but I also want enough to kind of overlap and hold these tapes down also. Okay, so I just do like 1/8 of an inch all the way around, and I kind of press it in. You can do this with your painter's tape. It does the same thing. I just happen to have this on hand. Now what I like to do is after I tape everything down, I come back in with my bone folder and kind of make sure those edges are really stuck down, because I don't want water or paint to get stuck under there. Okay? Excuse me. Okay, I need my water bottle that of course has gone missing. I moved it. So I'm going to spritz my colors. This is the first thing I always do before I start painting. I go ahead and I spritz my palette so that that color will start reactivating. Starting to soften up. Makes it a little easier when you go back in to add more water to get your colors. So I'm going to take a flat brush to start off. Make sure you get that hair off there. I'm going to take some clean water. Make sure that brush is clean. And I'm going to start flooding my paper with water. Okay, and I'm going to take my largest brush, largest round, and I'm going to pick the red, the yellow, and the blue for this. So I'm going to take my lightest yellow, and I'm going to mix up a nice, very thin value. So I want it to be a very light value for my underpaintings, okay? So I'm just going to kind of drop some color in. And it looks like I didn't get enough water on my paper. I'm going to add a little bit more with my spritzer. I'm going to come in with just a tad bit of a darker yellow. Just drop those in here and there. So we have a little contrast. Okay, I'm going to take my lightest red. And these are all light values, remember that. I don't want anything too dark. our lightest blue. Okay, I'm gonna move my palette for a second. Because what I can do now is I can take my board and kind of manipulate these colors around a little bit more. Go. I'm gonna take my tissue and soak that up. And I know one of y'all are here, I can't see who it was because I was paying. So just like say hi in case I missed it. Okay, now I'm going to take my heat tool, I'm going to dry this. Still feels a little damp. Okay, I'm gonna let that cool for a second. I'm gonna grab my stamps. and go grab another block. Versifying. You don't see my Versifying, so we're going to do this a different way. I'm going to take my Sahara sand, and I'm going to ink up my stamp. You want a very light color ink. I'm going to stamp it off, and I'm going to stamp right there. Try to make this just a tad bit darker. Okay. I'm going to come up this edge right here. So what's going to happen with the underpainting, it's going to give a glow to our stamped images once we start painting. Okay. Do I need to zoom in for you? Let me know if you want me to zoom in. Okay, so I'm guessing everybody's good. I change out my paper towels. And sit down. Because we're going to be painting for a while, a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to take some clean water and I'm using my number 2 brush. And I'm going to start with a medium value. Not too strong, not too light. And I'm going to start painting my roses first. I'm going to add my dark. Pull my color out. too much water on there. And remember, you're skipping every other petal. Any petal connects, you want to skip it. Can you see the difference? Let me move this for a second. I'm gonna bring this up to y'all. Can you see how that underpainting shows the color underneath? Make sure we're focused on that. You can see that the colors underneath it, which is a really good thing when you're trying to build up and create a nice painting. And I'm making sure my darkest color goes where those creases are, where the petals are touching. Going to finish painting these with a light wash of color. And where I stamped and made a little mistake, that's fine, because I'm just gonna, no one's gonna know it's there after we get done painting. I'm gonna paint all my big flowers first. And the rest of them I'm just gonna do with the same value, because I'm gonna show you how to use your watercolor pencils to enhance this. Because I would totally, like, if I was going to sit and do like this one, I would have picked a different a larger image that's not so small to do that whole process with. This is the easier way to do it, and a little cheating. I can lay down that first value and get it in there, and then come back and add more values. You do have to be careful doing this because that watercolor can lift back up underneath, so you've got to be very, very careful of what you're doing. Okay? Okay, now I'm going to change color for the smaller roses. I'm going to do those with gamboge. I'm actually going to mix the gamboge, a little of a color called quinacridone gold. It's just a very warm golden tone. I'm going to mix all of those together. Quinacridones have taken the place of most of the cadmiums. They've actually said they were going to stop making the cadmium colors. So this was, quinacridones were the answer or the fix for that. I'm just going to add in some cerulean blue on the small flowers because they're not going to take a lot to color. So I just kind of need that underpainting and the color on top to kind of mix. Yeah, Mr. Rose. Okay, so we're going to do our green. Paint in some leaves. Okay, now at this point, say you want a few more leaves in your background. Okay, I'm going to show you how to do that real easily. You're going to take your brush and you're going to press it down and pull it up. Same thing the other side. So you're going to kind of press. Trying to get my hand where I can do this where y'all can see. Need a little bit more water. Okay, now I'm going to take just a piece of watercolor paper here, and I want to show you something. This is just plain white paper. Okay, I want you to look at that leaf and look at the leaves here. Can you see the difference? Where how much there's more life in this with the underpainting than there is with just the white cardstock. What the underpainting is really doing is helping that glow. Plus, it's also giving that first layer of color that you can come back and build on. Okay? Plus, it also helps to add some shadows in certain areas if you have some blues or some more warmth or more cooler tones into your paintings or cards, which I call them paintings because that's what they are. They're paintings. Okay, I am going to pull in my watercolor pencils. And I'm going to enhance some of this so we can show you how to do that. So I'm just going to color like I normally would. And remember, the more pigment you put down, the stronger the shadow or color. And this is something you don't have to do to all of them, but it's just a good way to help enhance your coloring in your paintings. I'm just going to do just a little on each one. And I'm using orange with the yellow because it's pretty much the same color family. But since yellow has such a small value range, it's hard to get it to expand where you need it to. So you either have to use a violet and mix it, or just use your orange pencil. It will help. But you do have to be careful and make sure you're not getting too much pigment on there. Kind of make sure your light sources come in the same direction. So you want all your shadows to be correct. So if your light source is coming this way, the darkest part of your flowers are going to be over on this side. It's going to get lighter. Same thing with your leaves. Now this flower in this corner is not going to have as much light because the light's coming this way, so it's going to be backlit. I'm going to add a little raspberry in there too. And for my blue, I'm going to use a little pool party. Not much, just a tad. I don't want too much on there. Just want a little bit. Okay, we're going to add a little olive to our green. I'm pretty much concentrating only on the stamped flower images, not the leaves that like these leaves. I'm not really concentrating on those. I want my stamped leaves to have more definition because they're closer up. The more abstract leaves that we painted would be further in the background. Okay. So now I'm going to bring in and introduce our water back to start our values going again. And if you have an ugly area like I just created, you will let that dry and then we will fix it. Moving that pigment out. When you're using, for your card making, the watercolor pencils actually help a lot because you can build up those tones really fast by doing it this way. Especially if you're in a hurry and you want to create a card that's watercolored. I mean, it still takes a while, but it's a little bit faster. So then I can always come back also and drop in some more color while my rose is still wet. some clean water. See, I got too much water there, so I gotta pull that off. I'm gonna come back and do pull those leaves out. Okay, now can you see how that has built up a lot more color just by using the few little washes we did with the watercolor pencils? Kind of helps. You can emphasize certain things if you want. But we have a nice glow going. Now let me grab one more thing. I wanted to go grab my gouache. And all gouache is just as an acrylic mixture that works really well with watercolors. It's very opaque. I'm going to come in and I'm going to add the gouache to those little berries. I like the Winsor & Newton gouache. It's one of my favorites. Although that's not the one I could find a while ago, so I'm having to use a different one. And make sure you clean your brush really well when you use your gouache, okay? Okay, I just have a cheap little brush here, or a cheap little block. I'm gonna flick some paint on. Just so we have a little bit more interest going on. I like to use gouache when I do like a snow scene because it makes very pretty, very pretty snow. Now another thing you could use to do that would be like the shimmer paint. You could take a little bit of that, very little. Flick onto your project. My brush is nice and clean. Okay, we're going to dry this and see if I need to do anything else. Because you know you want to dry it because that paint's going to dry back a little bit. So make sure you kind of dry in between. Okay. Now I'm going to show you how to peel this off. What you're going to do is get one corner and you're going to pull your tape at an angle. Make sure it's completely dry before you start doing that, okay? Because you don't want to rip your paper. Ask me how I know. Okay, so there is our little mixed media piece. Now I can come back, and I probably will come back and enhance this a little bit more, but I'm going to wait and see how I feel about it. I might have to do a second layer of color, or third layer of color on those roses. I'm not quite sure. But what you're going to do, for your assignment, you're going to do an underpainting, and then do your focal image, paint your focal image, and then create a card with it. But before you go, I want to show you how to do another card also. I want to show you how to just paint if you're just not using a stamp, okay? So we're going to use that cheap palette again. And I'm going to use the ovals, framelits. And all I really want is just like a guide. So I'm going to take, I think that'll be good. I'm going to hold that kind of in place. I'm going to lightly trace the inside of my oval, not letting it move. Okay. So it gives me a guide. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to mirror those flowers. And we're going to freehand it. So I've got my palette. And I'm going to use just a slightly bigger brush this time. I'm going to take my green and yellow, and I'm going to make it a lighter green. And I'm going to kind of press, make kind of like a leaf shape. And you don't have to be an artist to do this. Anyone, you could all do this. It's all about value and repeating patterns. And then with just our green. Okay, so there's our base so far. I'm going to bring my small brush back. And I'm going to make like a bluey green color. Little fronds. I'm gonna come in with my red. We're just gonna kind of press some flower shapes out. A little too dark. Kind of daub those out. Okay. Now while that's drying, I'm going to come back with a little bit stronger pigment. And I'm going to come back in and define some of these leaves. And if that paint mixes, that's fine. Give us our second value here. And when you're doing these types of cards, I mean, they're real quick, nothing too complicated, just keep it simple. It's just shapes. Think shapes. All you need to think about is your shapes. If you let the brush do the work for you, it's a little bit easier. So I'm just adding in a few little dark shadow in the base of these leaves. And I just mixed up my blue and my green. Okay, so I can already see I'm gonna need a few more like fronds or something. So let's add in just some little shapes. I'm just kind of flicking those in with my tip of my brush. Yeah. See, that's looking really good. Okay, now those flowers should be a little drier now, so I'm going to come back with a little darker pigment. I'm just going to kind of touch here and there. Like little circular motions, commas. It's pretty much what you're wanting to make. Make a few little commas. Add just a little bit. purple little flowers that are living right there. Some little lavender. I'm just taking some clean water and kind of softening some of those out. Okay, so now what I would do is turn this into a card by either stamping a sentiment on the inside or putting a banner across it and just matting it. These are really fun to do at Christmas and really easy to do at Christmas time, because you can create little wreath cards with just a little bit of paint and some color. Okay, see, I have a gorgeous little wreath that I can use, and I just free-handed it. It was really simple and easy. No, not a lot of skill. It's just a little adding the values. I started with the dark, added that dark in, or pulled it out with the lights with our cheap little watercolor set. So those are the two things I would like for y'all to try. So I want you to try the underpainting and create a card and create a freehand wreath card. Okay? And I just want you to know it's been a pleasure working with y'all these last 6 weeks. Y'all have pushed me more than I've been pushed in a while in a class. And I'm really happy with the way y'all have done. Y'all have created some beautiful projects. I hope that y'all have felt like you've learned some things. I hope that you enjoyed yourself. That's the main thing. You enjoyed it. You had a good time. You created some fun projects. Okay, I will talk to you later. Bye. Love you.